meeting that we've had. The first one was more of a picnic, so this is more official. So we're doing our best we can. Get the word out. It's pretty easy if you're not, if you're watching, but you haven't become hooked into this on a regular basis. We do have a membership. Hi, Nan, one of our former members, board members. You can just email us at elnaboard@gmail.com, just ELNA board@gmail.com, and we'll try to get you on our list. Diane Hetrick will take care of that. We also, we call it a membership, but there is no membership. There's no fees. It's just anyone that's in the neighborhood, business or resident. Right now we have about almost 700 members. I think it's about 677 people, probably a few more than that. It sounds like we've got some more that have signed up to be in our communication. So we're excited tonight. We're going to talk about mostly what's right here in our area, 185th Street. And we have a few business details to take care of first, but we're really excited to have our presenters tonight, two from the city of Shoreline. And before that, we'll have a project manager working on a sidewalk project over by I don't want to say former pool, but the pool that is now closed over there on First Avenue. Do have on the agenda a little bit of a welcome and introduction. So we'll say we've got Darren Murata, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right, from Dowell, who is the senior project manager who is working on that sidewalk project. I think it's gonna, oh, hi there.
Hi.
Nice to, I saw you on the internet, your pictures, so you look just like that guy. Yeah, thanks for contacting him. He actually contacted us, so that was nice. You contacted Diane Hetrick, so you came to us and to give us some information. So after we get through a few of the business things for about 10 or 15 minutes and some reports, we'll go right to you, Darren, and thanks for joining us.
Great.
And then after that, we'll have Nora Daly-Peng, who is going to talk about some of our transportation things going on the multimodal corridor on 185th Street. Some exciting stuff, you know, in the next couple of years, we're going to see lots of changes. Just driving up and down the freeway, I've been going back and forth to the airport a lot the last couple of days for my daughter, and just amazing how fast that station is becoming visible. A lot of it was not seen, you know, you didn't know what was going on below ground or all the engineering, but now you're actually seeing the posts and everything else coming along. Dale, I don't know if you have anything for treasurer. It's kind of not much going on. We're not really taking money in. We're not really spending it during the COVID process, but I think we're doing okay. We do have an account.
Not much going on.
Right.
But at this point, we do have $678 in our bank accounts.
Good. Yeah.
So we have not had any income, obviously, for quite some time. Not from a book sale, not from anything, not from donations, anything. So, but we're okay. We're just going to tighten our budget, our belts, and we're not going to spend anything.
That sounds good. Yeah. Well, good as it can be right now. There are grants out there that we've applied for in the past as a neighborhood. There's a mini grant program for any of those out here. Patrick, I see you and your wife there. Hi. There's mini grants, neighborhood grants you can apply for. If you have any ideas, think about that for the year ahead in 2021. We've had quite a few grants that the city has given to us over the last several years for especially the Densmore Pathway Project. So I'm gonna let Kathy, you go ahead and go first. Okay. Since you're not at home actually, so you're kind of concerned about your reception.
Right.
You're over in the sunshine.
That's right. Yeah, over here in Lakeshland, but the internet, it's great, but the internet's a little unstable here. I'm going to be reading the notes from the con meeting. Gidget Terpstra went there along with Jean, I think. So I wasn't there myself, but I'm going to read her report. And then we'll find out later why she's not here. So everybody knows the Council of Neighborhoods consists of the 14 neighborhood associations within the city of Shoreline, and they meet monthly to network together and share information. And so the last meeting was October 7th, and some of the highlights, Bethany Wolbrecht Quinn was introduced as the new community services manager. She's replacing Rob beam. Metro is doing an online survey regarding their Northlink transit service to the 3 light rail stations, and they're encouraging Shoreline residents to share their needs before the new bus routes are set. Information can be found at the King County Metro's website, and the link that you would look for is Northlink Connections Mobility Project page. So then Shoreline Council Member Chris Roberts spoke, and he talked about up
there.
So new development codes will impact future developments. They won't apply retroactively to any currently approved developments. Let's see. Citizens are encouraged to share their questions and concerns about the proposed shelter, and this is the enhanced shelter on Aurora and 163rd, as well as the proposed new zoning code changes for that shelter. I went to the website to see what updates there were regarding that, since this is a little bit out of date. And it says that an electronic public hearing will be held during the regular city council meeting on October 26th for public comment on the interim zoning ordinance. So that meeting's at 7 p.m. on the 26th. Let's see, a travel study is also being done by the city on Aurora Avenue due to the increasing number of accidents on Aurora in the past 2 to 3 years, especially near 163rd and 198th. So apparently there have been an increasing number of vehicular pedestrian accidents causing injury. Let's see, a reminder that October 26th is the deadline to register to vote. There are also some city, I didn't quite understand this one, so I'll just read it. Some city personnel are using Google Voice on their private phones to do city business. Google Voice does pre-screen. Okay. And then Sarah Lane, the Administrative Services Director, and Rick Kirkwood, Budget and Tax Manager from the city, talked about a few things, among them their following state guidelines regarding the playgrounds. Shoreline playgrounds are currently closed. However, the ban on use of the ball fields has been lifted. So again, let's see, portions of the proposed 2021-2022 budget is being worked on and will be discussed by the City Council in October and November, with adoption planned at the November 16th Council meeting. They expect revenues to be lower and a slow financial recovery. They're expecting an estimated $245 million in revenues for the next 2 years, with projected expenditure budget of $232 million. They're proposing a 1% of the general fund going to human services and adding a half-time housing and human services coordinator position to help with the needs of citizens. Let's see. So the end of the 2019-2020 budget projection includes some expenses reduced, including closure of the pool because of COVID, of course, using $1.4 million in reserves, and they're expecting $1 million shortfall for this 2019-2020 budget. Let's see, citizens are encouraged to attend the City Council meetings, the Planning Commission meetings, the public process meetings, read currents for all the news, sign up for Alert Shoreline, and participate in the resident satisfaction survey, which you can find on the city's webpage. Let's see, the okay, and then the con chair, Dan Dale, ended the meeting by encouraging the neighborhoods to think about the possible needs of people in our neighborhoods, especially during this time of COVID. That's the report from Gidget.
Great. Thank you so much, Kathy, even though you weren't at the actual meeting. Those meetings take place on the first Wednesday of most months. So I know it's been a while since Gidget took those notes. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
I think we're just going to add a few more things and then we'll go over to talk about the First Avenue sidewalk. Diane Lindbergh and I were able to go. We had some time to go after an invitation to go see the Ashley House, which is over on Burke Avenue, just north of 185th. And we were pretty lucky to get about 15 or 20 minutes of their time to walk through that place. The Ashley House is a nonprofit organization. I think they're kind of based out of Federal Way, but I believe they're national. And they are in the process of building what we've in the neighborhood have always called the mansion, the big house that was their big brick house. And I think they pretty much closed, they stopped doing construction for the moment that we were there, because we were walking right through the basement and up to the main floor where and into the final third floor at the top. I think we were really impressed with everything there. I couldn't believe how they had just transformed the inside of that. It's a very open feel. I think there's 13 or 14 patients that it can hold. 2 of the rooms are what they call negative pressure rooms. So there's no contamination coming out from those rooms are going in. They have some young children there, patients that will be going back to their homes, to their families, that will slowly improve in condition, and others that will not improve so much over time that they'll have more of a chronic situation that they'll have. But we walked through the training area. They have a room up there for the families to come in and train with the nursing and the doctor staff. And on that 3rd floor where the administration offices are, there's a bridge, an open loft that you can walk through to go from one area of that 3rd floor where the office staff is and the nurses. You can look down into the commune area where the nursing station is and where the patients can come out and be in a common place. So it's got a very open feel with a high ceiling at the loft up above, and the families who are up there in the training room are learning how to take care of their children once they leave. And so the idea is to get these children out of the hospital, Seattle Children's Hospital, and moved on and be in a happy place with their families at home. So we're really glad to have them. We're very, very glad to have them in their neighborhood. The other thing is Pat Deegan, I see you there. He and I have kind of met a couple different times down at Echo Lake, and I was down there last week to do a little training on water sampling. So King County has a lake stewards program, and our past steward has since left. That was Sal Malamud. He's asked for some assistance, and so I'm going to fill in for a little while. We have one more testing of Echo Lake that'll take place next week, and then it'll be done for the season until the water warms up again. It is a very old lake, and it's going through a meaning as its process, its chemistry, the amount of growth that there is on the bottom. So it's slowly becoming an older lake, which is a good thing. It's a part of the process. It'll, 100 years from now, who knows what it'll be like. It'll be filled up with lots of sorts of vegetation. So it's on its way to becoming a bog at some point. So I'll be going out in my kayak, and we'll be with another neighbor or probably my husband, trying to do all the sampling in my kayak back and forth. Let's see. The other thing is Densmore Pathway. We've got a little free library that's been constantly getting filled up. We don't have any work parties going on there yet. Hopefully we can start doing maybe some smaller work parties, or just have certain days of the week people can come and help out there. And I also want to let people know that this is tonight is also going on. It's the very same time as the Shoreline Climate Champion series that goes on. So if you're not watching tonight and you're here with us, they have one more night. You can catch that next Tuesday on October 27th. It starts at 6:30, and just look on the city's website and you'll see Shoreline Climate Champion series. And they'll have one more towards the end of the month. So maybe you can catch that. You have to register for it to get the Zoom information, but you can do that on the city website. Okay, let's see. And when we have our presenters starting, it looks like most of us are on mute, so that's a good thing. So it looks like that's set. So I guess we'll go ahead and start with you, Darren. We'll talk about the project that you've got going on over on First Avenue Northeast, between 193rd and 195th. It's an area that I rarely walk through or bike through, so I'm anxious to hear the presentation. He's got some updates on that.
Great. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. And I think we have a slideshow that I think Jay was running, so great. Well, I'll introduce myself really quickly. I'm Darren Murata, and I work for an engineering firm called Dowell, and we've been hired by the city of Shoreline to do the design engineering on this project on First Avenue. So I'll provide just a little bit of background on the project first. So back in 2018, the Shoreline City Council actually adopted the 2018 sidewalk prioritization plan for new sidewalks. And then this was followed in November of 2018 with a voter approved effort to construct and repair sidewalks. And as part of this process, there were 12 sites throughout the city that were identified for new sidewalks. So just this year, we began design on this project, First Avenue Sidewalk Project. Next slide, please.
I'll try this again.
There you go. You should be able to just use, there you go. Now go back one more slide. Oh, maybe if you could go forward one slide. There you go, right there. So this is a aerial that just shows the project area. So it's a pretty short stretch here, but it is a gap in the system that we want to make sure that we complete. So this is just between Northeast 193rd Street to the south and Northeast 195th Street to the north along First Avenue. And this would be on the east side of the street. Oh, there you go. So what you can see here is what we have shown on the east side of the street is just an 11-foot wide sidewalk is what is proposed. So that's kind of wide enough that it could be used as a multi-use pathway. So that's the sidewalk there. Those thin little lines that you see in blue are just a potential layout for improvements to the storm drain system. So we're still kind of just starting the design process for that. Yeah, as you can see here, we have sidewalks shown between Northeast 193rd Street and 195th Street. And that's really the gist of the project. There was a question, I think it was from Diane, regarding the jog in the street. So you could see right at the south end there, there's a jog in the street as you head north of, I think it's like 4 feet or so. And as we're doing this project, what we're currently proposing is shifting the center line of the roadway over just a couple feet. That should help reduce that jog. There's still going to be a little bit of a jog there as you head north, but it should be better than what it is now. So hopefully that answers your question there. If you can go to the next slide. So this is just a section view showing what it's going to look like. So there's going to be really the same roadway section, 2 lanes, and then on one side of the street will be a curb and gutter and a new 11-foot wide sidewalk. So that is that. And next slide, please. So just a little bit about schedule. Right now, we are taking this concept and moving it forward to final design, which should occur kind of over the fall and winter, with the plan being to advertise this project for bidding in the spring of next year. And then kind of late spring, summer 2021 is when it would actually be constructed. So as this project kind of moves forward, there will be more outreach. So we'll be having another public meeting that is yet to be scheduled. And there's also information on the city's website that talks a little bit about the project as well. So as we move along, there will be updates posted to the website. Next slide, please. So again, yes, for additional information, just go to the website and just look up First Avenue Sidewalk and it'll take you right to it. If you do have questions, you can certainly ask me right here. Otherwise, my contact information is here. Again, I'm Darren Murata with Dell. We're a design engineer working for the city. And then also here in the meeting is Laura Rader, and she is the City of Shoreline Capital Projects engineer that's working with me on the project. So there's both of our email addresses there. And if you have any questions, feel free to email either of us, or I guess if it's appropriate, you can, for this meeting, you can ask me now as well.
Okay, thanks a lot, Darren. Trying to see if we have any questions at all. I don't see any. Very nice presentation. Great.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, you saw that. Great.
Thanks for iPad, so on your meeting.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, we look forward to seeing all that's going on. 11-foot wide sidewalk. Huh? That's great. That'll be lots of space, and hopefully in the lot of space and a lot of safety. I imagine that's going to become real popular, hopefully for some bicyclists and commuters over the next 5 years, and longer. And into the future, not knowing what's going to be going on over in that area, you know, in 10 years, what it's going to look like, what the Shoreline School District's going to do with all that property. Wow, exciting times, right? Okay.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
Is the sidewalk that goes behind Holyrood, is that an 11-foot sidewalk? Is that what they look like, Laura? You
talking about on the south side of Holyrood?
You mean on 195th?
Yeah, 190, yeah, on 195th.
That's a 10-foot sidewalk, so it's going to be really similar to that.
There's really enough room on that road for cars and an 11-foot sidewalk?
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's 2 lanes and
must be.
There's a ditch right there on the side of the road, and we're going to have to kind of engineer around that.
Okay.
Yeah. We shall see. I think we can trust them.
I guess.
Yeah.
And so bicycles, it's going to be like the trail on 195th, that bicycles and pedestrians are on the same. Yeah, it takes people a while to get used to that.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to the process coming up, and you know, we'll all be keeping an eye on it. And Diana will be putting some things in the Shoreline Area News for sure. And
we have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
Edgar asks, are there no changes on the west side of First?
Right now, for this project, it's just the east side is where the changes are proposed.
Okay. And Dan Royal asks, how long will the construction take?
You know, we don't actually have the number of construction working days established yet. We'll probably be sharing that information as we get further into design. So probably later this year, there will be some more information on that.
I got a question. So why did we select a multi-use path at above curb level rather than a 5-foot bike lane at street level and a separated 6-foot sidewalk?
So we had a couple of different concepts that we looked at. I think in looking at them, the city decided that this alternative seemed to be the best fit for the area for you know, a bunch of different reasons. I mean, one of them, we were looking at things like utility conflicts and just trying to make sure we could get a cost-effective solution to fit. Those were kind of some of the reasons how this particular design was selected.
So widening the the road an additional 5 feet with asphalt and then a 6-foot concrete sidewalk, which would be the exact same dimensions combined. Is that a better alternative for utilities or utility conflicts?
Well, the alternative that we're looking at now was decided to be the best option for those reasons.
So also, just to chime in a little bit here. So the city standards through this area is a 5-foot amenity zone and then a 8-foot sidewalk. So we're looking at about 13 feet that you would have for the whole sidewalk section of it. And because of the potential for future growth in this area and not wanting to preclude any growth that we were going to see, this seemed like a really great option to hit all the boxes for us. It's the same impact essentially on the right of way here. And it works in really well with some of the other connections that we have in the area, especially on 195th and the trail there. So we think when we look at the master plan, it seemed to check all the boxes in the most efficient way for us.
So essentially in the future, we essentially demo the sidewalk to create the additional 5-foot amenity zone, and when the additional right of way is obtained or donated, then we end up with our full section of 5-foot amenity zone and our 8-foot sidewalk. Is that?
No, so no changes would be proposed in the future on this side of the sidewalk. I think the growth and essentially where you would see that additional area would be on the west side of the street.
So we're going to end up with a substandard. We're going to end up with a sidewalk that's below our ultimate design standards anyway. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
So I think where we came from with it is that it actually meets the standards, all the same standards. So I don't think that you would say it's below standard at all, especially because it still is exactly the bike and the pedestrian routes, and it has the correct length that we're looking for and width. And so, yeah.
Okay, just good. No 5-foot amenity zone. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Yeah, and thank you, Darren, for all that information we got about that sidewalk. So glad we got some input here at our Zoom meeting. So I guess we better move on to our actual presentation that we've got going on. Kate's kind of started off with leading into that. We have our presenters tonight are going to be Kate Lee, who is a planner for the city of Shoreline in the planning and community development section, and also Nora Peng is going to be talking about the transportation aspect of it. She's the senior planner for Public Works. I got that correct. Yeah. So we'll go to them. I don't know if Kate, you're going to be starting first, talking about the townhome design standards and maybe a little bit of if there's any updates on the 185th Street Station sub-area report. I know that was done a couple of years ago, so maybe there's some new stuff going on.
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully that's an option available to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and bring up the presentation here. So yeah, I'm Kate Lee. I'm an associate planner with the city. I'm in the planning and community development department. And my role is primarily to review permits that we get in and ensure that they're consistent with the adopted development code standards, so the zoning regulations that the city has. So the Shoreline Municipal Code, or SMC, I'm going to go over a couple of different sections. Title 12 briefly, that talks about what takes place in the public right-of-way. And then Title 20 is the development code, and that's mostly what I deal with. So this chart does have out-of-date data. It was updated as of November of last year. And the reason for that is I produced this when I was working on the Townhouse Design Standards update. And so we haven't updated the information since then. But the top 3 bars show the number of townhouse units that were approved. And so you can see there weren't that many, you know, starting when the station areas were the sub area plans were created and the station areas were upzoned. So it went from 16 units up to 69 units. And then just from April to October of 2019, we had 99 townhouse units permitted. And then the bottom bar is this is the number of townhouse units that were under review as of November of last year. We did have a slew of townhouse applications in December of 2019 because many developers were trying to beat the new townhouse design standards being adopted in January of this year. So there will be some updates to this forthcoming, but right now we don't have the data. I will share with you when that data will be available. So these are pictures of some of the recent townhouse developments in your neighborhood on 185th. And these were the kind of the early phase of townhouse development that we saw 2016 through 2018. And just because of the way that the lots were subdivided and plotted in the neighborhoods there as single family lots, they tended to be very, very narrow at the street frontage. So 50, 60 feet wide, 100, 120 feet, 20 feet deep. And that was typically to accommodate a single family home. So then when we had the townhouses going into these, they had this sideways orientation to the street. So that's, you know, you've all seen that. It's your neighborhood there on 185th. So we updated the townhouse design standard regulations, and those were effective in January of this year. It added requirements for outdoor space, landscaping, requirements that improved how townhouses look from the street, added definitions for certain building design elements, and also added requirements for solid waste collection sites. And now this is one of the newer projects that I'm reviewing right now that's in for permitting. It's in the 145th station area, but it shows just how the design of these projects are changing. It's got 2 units that are facing the street in one building. It's got an access drive on the north side, and then 3-unit building tucked behind. And so I think this is going to be the more typical development style we're going to see under the new townhouse design standards. And this was a big topic of interest, both when we were developing the new townhouse design standards, and I know it's an issue for the community in terms of where waste bins are placed for collection. So I'm just going to go over briefly what Title 12 has to say about obstructing the right-of-way. It has a few provisions, and it says that the abutting property owner is responsible to maintain the sidewalk free of any obstruction, and that such obstruction is subject to enforcement and penalties. So, you know, if you're seeing waste bins that are blocking sidewalks and things like that, it's not allowed by city code. And next I'll be going into what the current development code says about where waste bins can be put. So the development code deals with what's going on private property, and Title 12 deals with what's going on in the public right-of-way. So prior to the townhouse update, this is what the code used to say, and it didn't really speak to where the waste bins could go to be picked up by Recology. It talked about where they could be stored and things like that, but it didn't address where they could be placed to be collected by Recology. So the updated code has 4 options for where the waste bins can go. One is they can be stored in the individual unit garage. It has to be its own area, so they have to provide adequate space for parking for a vehicle. And then in addition to that, they have to provide space to store the bins. And then for staging, for Recology to pick them up, they could place them in the amenity zone. So this is the area between the sidewalk and the curb. Of course, there are a lot of fixed objects within that area, electrical poles, street trees, community mailboxes. And so a developer would only be allowed to put the staging of the waste bins in the amenity zone if it's not going to conflict with those other fixed objects that have to go in the amenity zone. Second option is to store it in an individual unit garage and to place it within the setback. But if a developer chooses that option, it can't conflict with required landscaping, so it's not going to work for every site, but it may work for some. A third option is to store it in the individual unit garage and to stage it by putting it along the access drive. So Recology would pull into the site slightly and pick up the bins along the access drive. And then the last option would be for it to be stored and staged in a common trash room or an outdoor enclosure. In order for a development to choose that option, Recology would have to be able to get their truck on site, or the trash room would have to be located really close to the street so that those folks could get out of the garbage truck and collect it from the trash room. So this is an illustration that's in the development code, and it just shows the different options I went over. The option on the left shows the waste bins that are being staged along the access drive. The option in the middle shows them being staged in the amenity zone, and the option on the right shows them being staged in the front setback. So this is a townhouse proposal that I've got under review right now, and they're showing the waste bins to be within the amenity zone. And I think this is something your group would be really excited to hear. Unfortunately, you'll have to stay tuned and look forward to the November 30th City Council meeting. One of my colleagues in the Planning and Community Development Department, Andrew Bauer, he's a senior planner. He'll be presenting the sub-area report. So as you know, as you may know, the second phase of rezoning in the 185th Street Station sub-area will take effect in March of 2021. So coming up here quickly. And so that's why Andrew will give this report to City Council on November 30th in preparation for that. So he'll talk about development in the sub-area since its adoption in 2015 and how the plan is being implemented. And he does have some updated data on townhouse units, I believe, but it's not quite ready for prime time yet, but it will be by November 30th. So would invite and encourage all of you to participate in that City Council meeting. And that's all I have for you. Thanks for having me at your meeting. I'm available to answer any questions you might have. My contact information is there on the screen. That's my direct phone number. I am telecommuting, but all my office phone gets forwarded to my personal cell phone, and then my email address as well.
Great. Thank you, Kate. I sure appreciate it. That's exciting times ahead. It's got to be exciting to be a planner right now in Shoreline. Things are always changing, never a dull moment. And you never know what the developers are going to do. We do have a question. We can get to that. Edgar has a question about, does the updated garbage staging code retroactively apply to sold townhomes?
So it doesn't. So the way the development regulations would work in Title 20 is any new development that would come in for permitting after that January date when the new townhouse design standards were effective, it would apply to those. We've only had 2 projects come in under the new townhouse design standards. One is that small 5-unit one that I showed as an example, and the other is a large 72-unit development. Those are both in the 145th station area. But what would apply is what I referenced in Title 12, which was if waste bins are being placed on the sidewalk and they're obstructing it, we do have a city code that deals with that. It may be a bit of an enforcement issue. You know, we have a small community response team. They're all great, and they, you know, they're great at getting out there and resolving issues, but you know, there's only so many of them. There's just 2 of them and then a code enforcement officer. So it can be tough to keep up with some of these things.
Yeah, I know over between Meridian and First Avenue, there's a townhome. I don't know which one it is. Dale probably does because he's living very close to it. There was, and still is, a continued problem with them leaving their bins out throughout the week. And I took some pictures and called CRT, and he came out right away. I didn't actually know what the follow-up was, but the bins had been moved. They hadn't been put back in, but I guess he made it clear path, because there was just no way anybody could have even walked through there, because those bins and all the boxes and trash and all the number of units. That was a perfect example of what whoops, we don't want to see that. And I guess I could say use that see, click, and fix program if anyone needs to take a picture if you see that and turn it in, or just call a customer response team. That's what I did. That was faster. And he got out there probably within an hour or two. He may have just physically moved it himself. I don't know if anybody got a warning about it, what they do as far as leaving a note on the door of every single townhome, because they're not really associations, right? They're not really they're all independently owned, and how you can give them a warning, I'm not too sure how that would be a question I would have. How do you tell these people? Is there they're breaking a code, but does someone go and knock on every single door?
No, according to the code, it's the adjacent property owner, so it's the first lot, because these are all single family lot.
Right.
So, so the first unit is responsible for that frontage. Like the one here at Corliss and 185th, there's 7 units, but there's only 1 unit that's adjacent to the frontage. So they would be responsible for making it safe.
21 bins.
21 bins for 7 units. Part of the problem, these amenity zones, though, you know, by city standard details, the amenity zones have to be mounded. And so you've got this mounded area that's fairly narrow. You've got a bunch of people with these little tiny mini bins that have almost no footprint, and they continually fall over. The ones between Corliss, across from the church on 185th, today as I came home, I noticed that there's probably 12 to 15 bins out already, and 5 of them had fallen over and garbage had fallen out of them and stuff like that, just because they're on this unstable amenity zone. So, you know, we're not really creating stable places for these bins.
Yeah.
Amenity zones. And on the back side of the sidewalk, on that one, there's the city required infiltration trench. So, you know, we got some codes that are requiring things that other codes are preventing.
Yeah, I know it's an issue. It's actually going to be a serious issue. I know when we put out our A board for our meeting, we were always told we had to leave 5 feet free for sidewalks, because they were getting some complaints from people that were had some vision issues or trying to use walkers or wheelchairs. And I don't know, maybe just more notice in the Currents newsletter, or get word out to these people, because you'd think they would notice that. I mean, they're leaving it out all week long. Pickup day for that area, I believe, is Wednesdays, and it's quite common for them to be leaving those things out all day. And I don't mind seeing them. That's not so much of an eyesore. Now that maybe it is, but it's where they're leaving that. There's people have to walk through here, you know, don't you understand? So it's like an education thing. They need to realize that somehow. I don't know if we could send that particular group of people a little notice or something, or put it in the Currents, give them some more information about the ADA requirements for people to get through. Yeah, on and on. And I bless the Recology crew, and they have to stop, because I know I've got 7 townhomes going in across the street, and on Ashworth, there'll be 21 bins, and you can count them all out. So it'll get worked out, right? By the testing. Well, thank you, Kate. I don't think we have any more questions from our board, maybe, or anybody viewing.
Kathy was reiterating what
Dale
was asking about the abutting property being maybe one front one homeowner responsible for multiple sets of unit bins.
Yeah, single family.
And that sounds like that's correct. I don't know if Kate wants to verify that. I had a question.
From an enforcement standpoint, I don't know how CRT is dealing with that. I mean, ideally, if you're, you know, all of you are living, let's say you're in a 6-unit townhouse building, and it's part of a subdivision. I mean, you have entered some private covenants and restrictions that relate to property upkeep and things of that nature. So, I mean, before you get to that point, ideally with your neighbors, you would have those conversations about, you know, hey, you know, did you remember to bring your bins in and that sort of thing. I guess if you reach the point where you're not having those types of friendly conversations with your neighbors, you could point to some of the codes and ordinances, that both private restrictions on those subdivisions and also the city codes that I pointed out. But yeah, I don't know how CRT, you know, if they're going out there and actually moving the bins themselves, or if they're giving citations to just the one abutting property owner, if they're handing it out to everyone in that building. Maybe if the bins just have a certain unit written on it, maybe they would handle it that way. You know, I don't have them here tonight, so I can't speak for them, but you know, I know it's an issue, and that's why we addressed it with the design standard update. Unfortunately, it's a lingering issue for a lot of these developments that were permitted prior to that. And the update offers some options, but the option has to work. You know, the amenity zone isn't going to work for every project. It might work for a project, and if it does, then they need to show how it's going to work. So
yeah. Thank you for those comments.
And if I can,
I have one other comment. The new Cromwell Crossing has, again, you know, potential for 21 bins with limited frontage. So they're going to end up spreading out to the adjacent frontages, and which their neighbors are already using their frontage for their own bins. So, you know, and there's even, I could see a scenario where they are pushed all the way down to the bus stop, and so we'll see how that works. But when they're at full sell out, but they are single family units, though. I mean, by definition, these are attached, but they are single family.
Jay, did you have a question?
Yes. Early on in the presentation, Kate, you showed a picture of the Densmore 185th Street townhomes, where a fence was being built, but it hadn't been finished yet. When they finished it off, they closed off all of those open spaces all the way up to the sidewalk. And I'm wondering if that was to code at the time, and whether that's something that's going to be addressed in the future, because I had thought that there were going to be offsets that would allow open space and visibility. And right now it's kind of difficult to make the left turn from there without crossing into what would be the crosswalk area.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two issues there. One is if someone puts up any kind of obstruction in the field of vision of what you would need when you're at an intersection, they're called site visibility view fields. So, you know, someone can't do that, even if you don't need a permit to install a fence or something like that. If someone has put up something that's obstructing the view at an intersection, then that's something you get started by contacting CRT and go from there to see if that was legally done or not. And then the other part of that is required open space. So that was one of the very first townhouse. I think it was the very first townhouse project in the MUR zones. And so there were no required open space requirements for that project. Those didn't apply to townhouse developments until January of this year.
Yeah, because their property line goes right up to a foot of the sidewalk, I'm assuming. That's where they put the fence. Whereas the other townhomes eventually will be set back further from, and I guess Nora will tell some of that, talk about that. So I guess that's all the questions we have. I don't have any other that have come in. No, it looks like that. Well, thank you, Kate. Exciting times for you and your group there. And we sure appreciate all the work you all do over there. That planning department is constantly. And I have a question, though, maybe a quick one. Is this COVID slowing things down? Have you noticed less permit applications?
No, what has changed is the type of applications we're getting. So I mentioned because of the new design standards for townhouses, we saw a really huge drop off on those. You know, we've only had 2 projects in this year for review. One was a small 5-unit one, and the other is a very large 72-unit development that's under review right now. So we've had a shift from townhouses to more apartment buildings. So we've had a lot of multifamily projects under review. Most of those are along Aurora, some smaller projects in some of the MUR areas. And then I've been reviewing a project up on Ballinger Way right now. And I think we've probably had 4 or 5 multifamily projects. So we're getting more of those in and less of the townhouses so far this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've heard that Trent there at Brat City Girls is going to be renting out, leasing his space for a while. He's kind of on hold for a couple of years, possibly. We'll see.
Right, yeah. With the one on Aurora and 192nd.
Yes.
Yeah, we've the Crux. Yeah, we've approved all those permits, but they're just kind of sitting there, and I don't know what their plans are.
Yeah, I know he's a big developer. He has lots of properties, and he came to one of our meetings a few years ago, and he said he didn't want to see any brown paper on his first floor, so he's designing it to have studios with higher ceilings because he wasn't going to take a chance on putting any businesses yet because he was afraid they would just be brown paper all the time. The brown paper syndrome, I think he called it. People remember. Well, thank you, Kate. And I'm sure we'll have many opportunities to be emailing you and asking you more questions. And we'll look forward to that information coming up on November 30th on the latest townhome and sub-area report. So thank you so much. And we'll move on to Nora Daly Peng, who's there waiting for us patiently too. I always think of Nora being the bicyclist, giving the tours we've had over the last couple of years. I was usually out walking, but there was a large group of bicyclists too. So I'm hoping you're going to include some information about bikes for sure. The new station will be opening in a couple of years and how things are changing along 185th corridor specifically. So thank you, Nora, for being here with us. And she's there. Senior planner.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, great.
So I need to share my screen, so that just takes a sec. But I want to thank you for having me because I was looking at my calendar and I was going to come to your meeting last April and give this presentation. And of course, that was kind of the early onset of COVID. So we're all much more skilled now at these Zoom meetings. But I might be a little rusty because I haven't talked about 185th for 6 months. I'll do my best. Okay. Oops. Wrong one. Okay, here we are. Okay, so I think everyone, Marla, you just introduced me, but I'm the senior transportation planner with the city of Shoreline, and I do like to bike. But I wanted to center this conversation around the goal of this project was multimodal. And so it's the 185th Street corridor multimodal strategy. And the goal was to create a vision that is future forward and supports the needs of all users. And by all users, I mean drivers, people walking, biking, taking transit, and transit operators. And even though the project's name is 185th, it's actually a collection of 3 streets, 185th, 10th Avenue, and 180th. And this Z configuration connects the Aurora Corridor and North City Business District, with the center being the future light rail station that's coming in 2024.
I'm not sure you're presenting what you expected. You have thank you for attending the webinar from your.
Oh my, sorry. Thank you for saying that. I think I have 2 screens open.
Yeah, right now you're showing your browser screen.
Okay, I'll try to stay cool and just get back to. Okay, breathe.
I wanted to hear about the Ireland forum. I know you went. Was it Iceland you went to?
Yeah, I went to Finland.
Finland, that's what it was. Yeah.
Do you see the screen now? At this 185th?
I think you'll have to stop share and then find it and then share again.
Okay. Thank you.
And Nora, don't feel bad because we as a board are new at doing this too.
Thank you. Oh, here we go. Much better.
There you are.
Okay. Well, you're a great group. And I did spend, I got up extra early this morning, and at 6 a.m. I attended a virtual conference from Dublin that was free. And it was talking about how they're pivoting mobility choices based on the global pandemic. And it was pretty inspirational. Okay, so this makes a lot more sense. Here's the graphic that goes with the points I was talking about, that the 185th project is actually a collection of 3 streets. So you see this blue Z on the map. So that's, you know and love all these streets, 185th, 10th Avenue, and 180th. And the vision really was to create something that's future focused, because we know this area is growing up with the future light rail station opening in 2024, and to meet the needs of all users. So walkers, bikers, transit riders and operators. And now this is history, but this was our process. And many of you were involved with this. So back in the fall of 2018, 2 years ago, we launched this project. We kicked it off with a series of community meetings that included walking tours and biking tours in this area. And then we basically were asking people, what's the existing corridor like? If you're walking, if you're biking, if you're driving, and if you're taking a bus. And we had folks kind of map that, what that looked like. And from there, the team over the winter developed options and evaluation criteria so that they could be scored. And we had a meeting with the council in March and shared our what we heard from the public and the evaluation criteria. And we coupled that with the second series of outreach meetings. And from there, we had the public weigh in on these 3 options. And by summer of 2019, we created a kind of a hybrid, a best of the best option, and brought it forth to council for feedback. We did some refinements over that summer, and last fall, 2019, council adopted a preferred option. And so I just wanted to step back because when I say a preferred option, it sounds like one thing, but from the start of the project, we recognized that this corridor, not only does it have 3 streets, but it has the character of the corridor changes over the blocks. And so what we did was we divided the corridor into these 5 segments, A through E. And then we looked at that context and we developed cross sections for the future focused development of this area and to support the needs of all users. And what I want to emphasize is a cross section is very conceptual, and it certainly helps. It's a strong guideline moving forward. But these cross sections, when they're brought into engineering, they'll have to be tuned more, especially at the intersections. So now I want to walk you through those concepts for each segment. So segment A, when I talk about that, that is on the west side of Aurora, Fremont, if you can imagine where Baskin Robbins is, or the historic museum, up to and through the Aurora intersection all the way to Midvale. So that's segment A. And where we wound up was no curb to curb changes, but we really looked at the aprons or the margins of the street where the sidewalks are substandard right now and there's no bike facilities. And so we developed this vision to expand those aprons. I'm just using aprons as a conceptual word, but you can see in the red circles here in the slide to put in a proper amenity zone and a 6-foot bike path adjacent to a 6-foot sidewalk. And then for segment B, this is really kind of the heart of 185th. This would be from Midvale up to the bridge. We would be, the preferred option is for 4 lanes, 2 travel lanes and 2 bat lanes. And what a bat lane is a bus and right turn lane to help promote the speed and reliability of bus service from King County Metro and also community transit. It would hold the north curb because we got a lot of feedback about wanting to preserve as many of those existing London plane trees as possible. And so we're holding that north curb and doing just that. And then we move, right now the bike lanes on the street, we're moving that up onto the sidewalk level adjacent to new sidewalk. And I just want to show you a detail of what that looks like. And so you can see on the right there how those 2 facilities, the bike path and the sidewalk, are flush. And I can't see them because my photo is over it, but you might be able, there's some examples of, built examples in Seattle of this condition. And then segment C is largely being constructed by Sound Transit improvements. So this is from the bridge all the way to 10th Avenue. And it's 2 travel lanes and a center turn lane, buffered bike lanes and enhanced amenity zones. And then segment D is 10th Avenue. And the preferred option is 2 travel lanes, buffered bike lanes. And by buffered bike lanes, I mean a 5-foot bike lane on the road that has a 2-foot stripe buffer between that bike lane and an adjacent vehicle lane. On-street parking on one side and an enhanced pedestrian zone. So this concept was taking cues to the adjacent density that is zoned for this area and creating these expanded pedestrian zones so it could support things like outdoor dining or more landscaping, bioswales. And then the last segment is segment E. So that's the hill climb on 180th up to North City's business district. And the the preferred option is 2 travel lanes, as just like it is today, enhanced bike lanes, and enhanced pedestrian sidewalk and amenities. And then I just wanted to touch on community gathering places for this corridor strategy. As important as it is to redefine the street, it's also important to create these gathering places for people. And that was something that we brought to this project that was laid out in our Parks, Recreation, Open Space Plan, that as this area grows up in density, there's going to be more need for green space and open space. And so we looked at 4 sites along this corridor, and I'll walk through those quickly. The first one is right at the corner of 185th and Aurora, near Fred Meyer and Spiro Pizza. The city owns I guess like half of this space. And this was, we were looking at bringing in, let's see, it's adjacent to a bus stop. So creating artwork, potentially, I'm sorry, I'm just forgetting the name of it, but there's already artwork. There's the mural, so things that will complement it. Some maybe colorful plantings, fitness zone, that was the word I was looking for. Fitness zones could be as simple as, you know, a chin-up bar or some other activity that you could fit in a bit of an exercise while you're waiting for the bus. Site number 2, when we were developing this, we were hoping to apply to the King County Conservation Fund to acquire the site. And now probably most of you know that we were successful in that. And this concept really, it holds the formula for the King County Conservation that I think 80% of the site needs to be kept as natural space. So we have this trail loop, and that 20% along the street edge could be more active. It could be a place where food trucks could roll up to, or maybe there's artwork or educational signs. And then site number 3 is directly across from the future light rail station. It's also a trailhead for the proposed trail along the rail. And I can talk a little bit more about that if we have time during Q&A, what the trail along the rail is. And then the last site you all, I imagine, know and love is Rotary Park. That could be enhanced greatly. So it's a collection of sites and also easements. Seattle City Light, as you know, runs their power lines through there. And the concept was, what if we made this more of really a neighborhood park that provided many uses for individuals and group gatherings. And yeah, as I started out, I was talking about the word strategy. It was in this project, 185th Multimodal Corridor Strategy. So once we had the preferred option, we put together a near term, a midterm, and a long-term strategy on how this could be developed. And really the most strategic thing to do in the near term was to get this plan adopted and take those dimensions, those preferred cross sections, and bring those into our engineering development manual. So we did that last year. And so all our permit applications that front on these 3 streets now need to build out their frontages to these conditions. The other thing that we're moving on is coordinating with King County Metro and also Community Transit on their plans to connect to the light rail station. And then in terms of midterm and long-term, that's really like breaking down this Z corridor into bite-sized pieces, continuing to look for grant funding. And also I will kind of guess I'll introduce myself as also the next project manager for what is called the Transportation Master Plan Update. And that's really looking at our citywide transportation network. And we'll be launching that pretty early next year. Probably look for that starting in January. And we will be spending time looking at the whole network, but certainly revisiting this 185th corridor and seeing what other improvements we can make to it. And with that, here's my contact information. I'm also working remotely, but if you call my number, it gets forwarded to my personal email. And if there's time, I would welcome your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Nora. We sure appreciate it. And I know we're all excited for all the improvements that are going to be made here, and especially the parks. We've got, I live very close to the second park that was a vacant lot for many, many years. And I know my neighbor and I are both native plant stewards for the parks for city here. And we've already got plans to kind of see what that might look like. And the document you showed there on the screen looks very much like what she and I have been talking. We've been talking with Eric Friedley before he retired about some plans for some native plant sections in a community area out front. So that's really great. It looks like we have a couple questions maybe from Pat Deegan, who's here with us. Did you have a question, Pat? Is this related to, oh, I see. Do you see a conflict with garbage collection in the bus lane on 185th?
I understand you had a bus lane on the right next to the curb, and that will be where earlier today they were discussing the garbage trucks stopping in that lane.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that did come up during the process. Garbage truck pickup will be allowed to use that bus and turn lane. I think still the garbage can pickup is something that needs to be tuned. Certainly we don't want garbage cans to be falling over into the lane. But no, I don't know. I think there's a lot to unpack in that issue. And I don't know if my answer is satisfying you, but garbage trucks will be allowed to drive in that lane. So they could stop and pick up garbage cans, but it seems like there's more work to be done. Yeah. We'll see when those units that are only just one lot wide and how they can squeeze it all in there. One of our board members who joined us a little while ago, Jean Monger, has a question about the mower shop that's over there by Rotary Park. Do you know the status of the mower shop? One of the businesses that's been over there for many years. I think they're still open, but I'm not too sure how much longer they're going to be there. I've seen some activity. If that answers your question. I have a question. I don't know the status of the mower shop.
I just didn't see it in the graphic of the park. I didn't see it with enhanced.
Oh, it was, that was just a bubble diagram over an aerial. So it's a vision. It wasn't meant to say that anything's been acquired, but it was just to help show a vision. I will say that before Eric Friedley left his post, had a chance to have a meeting with Seattle City Light and discuss a ground easement very similar to the interurban trail is underneath Seattle City Light power lines, and Shoreline was able to develop that trail. So that's something that it takes a while to get those conversations rolling with Seattle City Light, but we've initiated that. Okay, good. One more question, again, from Edgar. What is the projected noise level at expected road usage of the corridor?
increase traffic, I guess. And if you can speculate noise levels, like hopefully new pavement will be quieter and bicycles using the area.
Well, I certainly don't, you know, I don't know a scientific answer to that, but the roadway corridor, curb to curb, today I think it's 42 feet, and the preferred option is, I think, 2.5 feet wider than that. So that's, you know, I don't know if, I mean, don't hold it to me because I'm not being a scientist about this, but I don't think it would be that much louder, because we're not really increasing, we're not adding more travel lanes that are out there than today. Well, actually, no, let me take that back. Right now there's one in each direction and there's a center turn lane. So I take that back. Now there would be 4. So how do we do that math? We took the bike lanes off the roadway and we moved them up to the sidewalk level.
I would imagine there would be more noise. It kind of comes with the territory, and hopefully like the buses coming through, they'll do some improvements on their engineering, and maybe it'll have more electric buses. I'm not sure how to answer that question either. I have a question though. I've been following some of the things that have been going on down in Seattle with bike improvements they've done down. So are we going to have any of those protected intersections at all? Maybe on 185th and Meridian, where you bump out the stopping for the bike a little bit further, and maybe there's a little barrier when the bike wants to go straight ahead. And for those of you that don't know what that is, or the intersection where the car is right next to a bike and you don't know if that bike's going to go straight and you're trying to turn right, and there could be a lot of accidents. So there's some places where they've taken care of that. Any hope for something like that here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hope for that, because what you're saying is you're creating basically a design for safe and predictable movements, which keeps everyone safer. When a driver and a cyclist, someone walking, can predict how somebody's going to move, it's safer. So we kind of created that vision, and we really will need to take it into design to develop those intersections. But we are looking at on 175th, that's an active design right now. And the intersection of 175th and Meridian, just last week, we had a staff meeting about how we can make that intersection safer. And we talked just about that. It's called protected intersection. And you basically bump out the corners and let pedestrians and cyclists wait there for the light. And if they need to cross and then cross again, because it's a really big street, it's actually safer than for that type of street than a cyclist trying to like cross multiple lanes and take a left turn like a car would.
Yeah, it's amazing the things that they've created, you know, in countries over in Europe where they've got bicycles that are so much more plentiful over there. And that's the way they get around in their small communities and large communities, and how they've taken care of that problems we have when we're sitting in a car and you always have to look in your left mirror and also in your right mirror for a bicyclist that might be coming along who has intentions of, you know, they're heading to work, whatever they're going to do. And they have to watch where they're going straight ahead. Is the car next to me going to turn right? Has he got his blinkers on? Am I going to have to hold back? Because you have to, as a driver of a car, you've got to do multitask and look in all your mirrors at the same time and make fast decisions. So we don't want to have any accidents, that's for sure.
Well said.
I don't think we have any other, we have one more question, let's see. Great work on the corridor. I started to like biking over driving a car. That's from Edgar Sileson. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. I've started to like biking over driving a car, and the corridor design helped me appreciate safer, quieter, slower streets. Well, that's nice. And then that's going to move on, even get better, hopefully.
Thank you, Edgar.
That's nice. Yeah, we have people that are using the Densmore pathway we have here on Ashworth, between Ashworth and Densmore. I see a lot of bicyclists coming through there because they're trying, right now they're avoiding 185th. And that's true for pedestrians too. And I've talked to them and they say, no, it's either too noisy or not safe on that busy street. So they're looking for some alternative methods of going east and west to head over to, you know, right now there's no light rail station, but just in the movement that they're making that way, they're finding, you know, secret passageways to get from one area to the other safely and avoiding the heavy traffic area. So it's kind of neat how inventive people are. Sometimes that's how you find out, wow, maybe we should make that a more permanent area. Let's see, I don't think anyone else have any questions that are here?
Diane Hetrick had a question now.
Oh.
Hi there. Nora, what plans are you making for access from 5th Northeast on the north side of 100?
Oh, yeah.
A large number of people use that to get to 185th, and it was getting increasingly challenging before they blocked off the bridge there. And Sound Transit's, of course, going to put in a roundabout there to smooth the traffic. I think it's, and when the station opens, everybody from Lake Forest Park is going to come up Ballinger and turn left on 5th and come through. So how are we going to be able to get out, or are we just going to have to jog to 1st and come out with the traffic light?
Thanks for your question, Diane. So I mentioned, I put a plug in for myself and the city launching the Transportation Master Plan, starting in January. And you know, one of the things about 5th Avenue, right? 5th Avenue is just like you said, that needs attention. And for a while, we thought that we were going to get some improvements built out on 5th Avenue. If folks remember when Sound Transit first had proposed the parking garage on the stadium side of the west side of the highway. But then when the garage moved to be consolidated with the station, which I think was actually a really good thing.
Yeah.
But one of the trade-offs was that those improvements to 5th Avenue went away. So what does that mean? And what does that mean to the Transportation Master Plan is that we still need to do something about that arterial. And we need to basically, there's instruments that can be used. We do use them as a city right now in terms of every year or every 2 years, we update our transportation improvement plan, and it lists the projects and the likely funding sources and the rough estimate of those. And for some of those projects, they draw, it's called TIF, traffic impact fees, that help us as a city fit out those intersections and street segments that need improvements. This is my pitch for the Transportation Master Plan. Sorry, this is a long answer, but our Transportation Master Plan is more than 10 years old. So it's really, it needs an overhaul. And one benefit of that will be is we can take a new look at our priorities and our accounting system, basically, on how we can build up the resources to actually make these improvements. So I don't have any detailed answer for you, but that is definitely something that's on our radar.
Great, thanks, Nora. And maybe before we let you go after your very long day, what's the best way you suggest for those of us that do have maybe some comments on transportation questions, especially for the master plan starting up here again for a new one? Do we email you, or is there going to be some little pre-open houses, or you get my drift?
Thank you. Well, any way that, you know, if anyone listening wants to personally connect with me, you have my contact information. But other ways that you can get engaged is I would like to come back to Echo Lake's neighborhood meeting and, you know, have a conversation about what I call the TMP for short. We will also be updated. We have a TMP webpage, but I'm going to be working on putting on, it's called like project alert. You can sign up for the project and then you can get emails, reminders of when there's activities coming up. We'll have articles and currents, and we'll also hopefully we'll return to having some of those things like walking tours and maybe biking tours, certainly surveys, and any ideas that you may have. I and the city would really like to kind of fan out across the city and have smaller meetings, but more of them, rather than just having one giant public open house. We'd rather really come out to all the places in the community and kind of build up the plan together.
Yeah, wow. That sounds like exciting times. And thank you for that comment, because I think we'll probably get some people here that'll be looking forward to those walks again and being out with you guys on the street and being able to kind of see the vision of it, even just on these Zoom presentations and webinars. It's nice to see someone's face occasionally, you know. My immediate family, but other than that, I think we're losing touch with our human connection by not being able to see our emotions and stuff. Well, thank you so much, Nora and Kate.
I do have one quick question.
Okay, Dale, go ahead.
Just the first I've heard of a roundabout at 5th Northeast, at 5th and 185th. Is this on the west side of the bridge or the east side?
So right now there's, well, in the report, which is on our city's webpage, we left it open-ended. So that that intersection could be a roundabout, or it could be a signalized intersection, and we listed pros and cons of each one if you want to take a look at that. We do know that, you know, Sound Transit's building a roundabout at 8th at the entry of the light rail station, and I'm sure you've all experienced the roundabout at 10th.
Yeah. I like roundabouts. Okay. So good. If not,
that's the first I'd heard of the possibility, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it then.
Go ahead, Jean.
Yeah, I just had a comment mostly. I'm not a roundabout person because people blow through them and don't abide by the rules for it. So we're very careful at roundabouts. But what I wanted to comment was the unique stop sign going over the bridge and how that works, where one side waits quite a while for the other side to come through. And if you're westbound from 10th, the cars can line up, and then there's some intersecting streets there. Well, I kind of feel because we live in Shoreline, people are good about letting people in to the line to get through that light. And I was impressed by that. So I just wanted to say that I think that light is working very well. That's just a comment.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jean.
Sure.
Wonderful. Okay, I think that's what we have then. Well, good night, ladies, and we'll let you go and get some rest and hopefully not too much more work the evening, Nora and Kate. We sure appreciate it. We're so lucky to have such a great staff. I mean, I can't help but share all the good wishes, and we have some congratulations and some thanks on the chat too that came in. So we'll look forward. I think as soon as we get done tonight, Jean and the rest of us are going to get a month picked out for you guys to come back again and give us some more updates on the townhomes and the TMP.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Nora, when would you say a good month would be to come back?
see Jean?
I mean, next year?
January or February.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yes, thank you, ladies. And you don't have to leave if you don't want to.
Yeah, you don't have to leave.
We're going to talk about what's going to happen next.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, it's good to see Gidget and Jean. You got some updates for us. So I think that's all we've got left. Public comment. I don't know if anybody's got any more comments who's on here. But we might move along and see how the evening event went for one of our board members, Gidget Terpstra, who went to an event over at Shoreline Community College, I assume, for the foundation there that has given her a special award for her service to the community. You want to give us a little review? I know Diane has some information. You want to start with you, Diane, or give it a little background?
Well, actually, what I have is a statement from the foundation, and I think it's the one that they probably read tonight. So Gidget's already heard it. Maybe for those of you who don't know, Gidget Terpstra was awarded the Distinguished Community Service Award from the Shoreline Community College Foundation. And that's yes, we are very, very thrilled. And of course, we agree completely. And they didn't even get about half. Let me just read some of what they said. Gidget served on the Shoreline Community College Board of Trustees from 2004 to 2013. Been deeply involved in our communities for over 50 years. I didn't think that was very tactful, but you know. Let's see. She served as Shoreline School District Department of Family Advocacy Chair, Shoreline School District Homeless Education Liaison, and a multitude of other roles. I know they didn't even get half of them, Gidget. Gidget was awarded the Washington Award for Excellence in Education from Washington State Governor and State Superintendent of Public Instruction. She's got 2 Golden Acorn Awards from Echo Lake PTA and the Shoreline PTA Council, and Gold Level of Leadership from the Washington State PTA. And then, of course, tonight, the Shoreline Community College Foundation's Distinguished Community Service Award. So it is Shoreline's honor to recognize the accomplishments of Ms. Gidget Terpstra with a Distinguished Community Service Award. No, we're really proud of you, Gidget. We really are. And they could not have picked a better person. And what they didn't even mention was the fact that you came back after you were off the Board of Trustees to fill in the term of somebody who had left. So after you had retired, you came back and served another year.
And they didn't say anything about being with the Echo Lake Association now.
The most important.
Oh my gosh.
They did. Gidget, they did. They mentioned it.
That's okay. We know. We know. We were very happy to pull you out of retirement for your 2-year term. That's now on the 4th year, right?
4.
I got to know all of you. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I have to say that Matt and I were over at the college, I don't know, maybe about 2 years ago. Gidget, you remember for the Tesla graduation?
Oh, yes.
When the Tesla students, I was going to say kids, but the students were getting, I think it was the first graduating class from their program. And everybody was like, oh, Gidget. They remembered her, and they'd go up and, you know, shake hands. And all the people that were there from the college. I think maybe that was not too soon after you started back with them, I think. I'm not sure. Anyhow, it was like the Teslas and Gidget. What's more popular, you know, that night? Yeah.
So tell us about let me drive the Tesla. Darn.
Yeah.
Really?
So I'll report that it was a wonderful celebration of Gidget, and the presentation and the photos were great. And she did a wonderful job of accepting the award and plugging the foundation for donations for the fundraising. But she told her story, her family history story, and involving the Japanese internment camps. And she just really, it was very heartwarming. And we were told that eventually the celebration will be on the foundation website so that you'll be able to watch it, those of you that attended the meeting. It ended up being only a half an hour, a little more. Jim Devers from King 5 was the moderator, and there was entertainment, one of them involving the Shoreline Community College band with faculty member Jeff Kashawa, the wonderful sax player. And there were a lot of testimonies from the students, a number of them. And Dr. Cheryl Roberts spoke, and it was really well done. And Gidget, you did a great job. You were nervous. It was by video, so. But anyway, congratulations. And I just want to say real quickly, hello to Nan Colton, former board member.
Yeah.
You maybe were recognized, but it's so good to see you, Nan.
It is good to see you. I agree.
It's great to see all of you.
Glad you
joined us. Night to say hello.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Gidget, I have a question for Gidget. What is it you said fundraising for the foundation does? What does that fundraising support? Scholarships?
Mostly tonight it will be for scholarships, various kinds of scholarships, as well as giving financial aid when a student comes in and they say, well, I had this unexpected expense, medical expense, and I cannot, I just don't have the funds to pay the tuition for the next quarter or something like that, and so they have a fund built up for students, which is really nice.
I think I'm not sure if I read just the headline, but something about the dentistry, and I don't know if that was at Shoreline Community College.
Dental hygiene.
Pardon? The dental hygiene. Is something changing there, or maybe it was University of Washington? Yeah. Are they removing it?
They do not have the space on campus for that program. And so they've developed a partnership with the University of Washington, which is wonderful. And eventually the program will move there.
It'll still be called the Shoreline Community College Dental Hygiene at UW.
Huh. Wow. Well, I was a student that used that clinic when I was going to college there in the 70s, and I went and had my teeth done, worked on it by the hygienist at the program. That was pretty cool. That's a long time ago.
I still do.
Yeah, you still do? Oh, really?
I still do. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, I guess speaking of which, I have an early appointment at a periodontist tomorrow morning. So
Yikes.
I think I might take a sign off here pretty soon. I don't think we have any other questions from anybody else. I can't see all the screen, so I just see the board members.
Well, I'm wondering if Marcy, is that you, Marcy, that joined us?
She's muted.
She's muted, but I think that might be Marcy Reedinger joining us, former board member.
Wow.
I hope so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Marcy, is that you?
Yeah, it is me, and I'm new to Zoom, so I don't know how this works. I don't know how to unmute me.
You're just fine. You're fine. Well, welcome back, Marcy. Marcy was a longtime board member too.
Well, it's fun to see. I recognize a lot, Diane, of course, you and the Mungers and several others. But I don't know why my picture isn't up there, although I will tell you all that it doesn't matter today because I had skin cancer removal surgery this morning and my face is all bandaged anyway. So
oh no!
Anything to see, but I'll figure that out for the next meeting. But I am delighted that you're having this meeting, and Zoom is going to be a way of life for a while. So I'm eager to learn better how to handle it.
And you're doing okay otherwise, other than your oh good. Well, and happy healing on your skin cancer removal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well I think it's just going fine because I haven't had any problems. But anyway, I came home, took my mask off, and then about an hour later I thought, why is my mask still on? And I realized
yeah, I've had surgery on my nose with this big Band-Aid.
Anyway, it's nice to see you all, and congratulations.
Glad you joined us.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, I think I'm going to sign off so I can get some sleep before I have to wake up and go get a skin graft on my tooth over here in the morning, early in the morning. So congratulations, Gidget. And so far we don't have any plans on putting a train room in Matt's shop. He told me that Dennis had made a statement that would make a great train room when they walk past here on Ashworth, and I was out of town and Matt shared that with me. Yeah.
Do people need a reminder to vote? Remember to vote.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't put that in my notes.
Since you weren't there during our inspection tour, Matt and I made several plans for the building.
Oh, okay. Like a door to go for the trains to go out into my vegetable garden and come back, maybe. I like that.
For those of you who may not know, Dennis is this is really putting it mildly, that he's a model train enthusiast. Now on steroids.
Yeah. Oh, fun. All righty. Well, I think that was a good meeting. Do we know how many people were watching? Because I don't get a full screen.
I counted 26.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Because on my iPad, I don't get the whole gallery view. I only get about.
I only counted 23.
We'll work on it. We'll work.
That's what I saw was 23.
Add one because Beth is here.
Oh, yeah. Add one.
Oh, and Jay, that's true.
Yeah, that's 25.
We have to add bodies, not just names. That's
and
true.
Claudia, so that is.
Oh yeah, Claudia and Pat. Yeah,
that is 26.
I'll get him.
And I was going to say, as happy as we were to see Jean and Gidget, we're also happy to see Larry and Dennis.
It's true. It's true.
That's true.
Larry has his eye on the World Series game.
Wow.
Oh, it's all done now, but we won't say anything in case somebody's recording it. You know, Blake Snell from Shorewood is playing.
Oh, I saw that.
Tampa Bay Rays and playing. I don't think he pitched tonight. No, not tonight. Tomorrow.
Game 2.
Oh. Yeah, he's the starting pitcher for game 2.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yay.
I sent that article to my daughter who graduated from Shorewood in 2002 just to make her feel old, because he graduated in 2011, I think it was.
No, that's not.
Claudia has something.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Diane, for putting in the very attractive meeting notice of the Echo Lake Neighborhood Association in the Shoreline Area News. That's really cool.
Well, I had someone after the last meeting say, I sent it out on our email. I put it on our Facebook. This is somebody at our association who said, oh, I look for it in the Shoreline Area News.
I think that was Claudia. Claudia, that was you.
I got you here.
So I'm delighted that you took the suggestion.
You told me to do it. I did it.
Hey, congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
Great.
You're welcome.
All righty, well, I'm going to sign off.
You all.
Okay, good to see you, Nan. Bye, everybody.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Congratulations, Gidget.
Oh, are we supposed to talk about the meet? We'll talk on Skype about the meeting later with Nora.